Hi, I'm Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the
GNN.
boundless riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Welcome to an afternoon edition of the Gallant Night News Live. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section, and if we have time at the end, I'll try to answer a few. But first, the news. On Monday, the Trudeau Liberals cut off debate on their omnibus budget bill. It was disappointing, but not surprising. The bloated budget bill contained over 200 pages just on the carbon tax. They had to cut off debate because the more Canadians learn about the carbon tax cover-up, the less they support the bills. The Trudeau Liberals are actively covering up the costs of the carbon tax. They are covering up the fact that a carbon tax will not reduce carbon emissions. What the carbon tax does is take away money from lower income Canadians and transfer them to wealthy Canadians. It takes money from rural Canadians and gives it to a few well-connected Canadians living in big cities. Trudeau is like some kind of reverse Robin Hood, robbing from the poor to give to the rich. Of course, they have to cover up these facts about the carbon tax. They cannot let Canadians find out about this massive swindle, so they cut off debate. But you can fight back. Share this video, tell your friends, and tell your family. Only by getting the word out about the carbon tax cover-up, hashtag carbon tax cover-up, will we have a chance at reversing it. Speaking of Liberal cover-ups, the Liberals are desperately hoping you won't notice what's happening at the border. Ever since Justin Trudeau tweeted, hashtag welcome to Canada, last year over 20,000 asylum seekers have illegally crossed into Canada. It is expected that upwards of 400 individuals per day will cross through unofficial entry points during the summer months. The Trudeau Liberals have utterly failed to address the issue of people coming into Canada illegally. On Tuesday, the House debated the following Conservative Opposition Day motion: that given the government's failure to address the crisis created by the influx of thousands of illegal border crossers traveling across our southern border between ports of entry, that the agencies responsible for dealing with this crisis have found gaps in security in the screening for newly arrived refugee claimants, as well as a backlog in both scheduled hearings and carrying out deportation orders, and that this trend is expected to increase over the summer months. The House called on the government to A, ensure the agencies responsible for our borders are properly equipped so they can continue to do their jobs effectively, and that those arriving at Canadian borders go through the appropriate processes. B, admit the Prime Minister's irresponsibility of tweeting hashtag welcome to Canada to those seeking to enter Canada through illegal means. C, take responsibility for the massive social services costs burdening the provincial governments. And D, table in the House no later than May 11th, 2018, a plan to, 1, stop the influx of people illegally entering Canada from the United States, and 2, take appropriate measures to handle those who have already claimed asylum. Canadians expect our immigration system to operate in an orderly, planned, and safe manner. Despite repeated calls from our Conservative team to come up with a plan, Trudeau has failed to take the appropriate action to manage illegal border crossings in Canada since his irresponsible tweet last year. It is projected that upwards of 400 people a day will illegally cross into Quebec this summer, and instead of looking at real solutions like closing the Safe Third Country Agreement or designating the entire Canadian border as an official port of entry, Trudeau Liberals spent millions of taxpayer dollars on Band-Aid solutions. People coming up from the United States crossing illegally, then claiming they are refugees, displace legitimate refugees suffering in horrible conditions in refugee camps. Millions of Canadians came here legally and played by the rules. Millions more are descended from Canadians who came here legally and played by the rules. That the Prime Minister would encourage individuals to illegally enter our country is completely unacceptable. The Trudeaus have accumulated a deportation backlog of criminals in Canada. They failed to provide the necessary resources to the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada. They refuse to raise the subject of the Safe Third Country Agreement with the United States. To top it off, every Liberal MP voted against taking immediate action. They voted against even having to plan to manage our borders and immigration system. What do you think? Are the Liberals incompetent, or do they just want open borders? Let me know in the comments below. When not ramming through a carbon tax or breaking our borders, the Liberals like to pretend they care about the economy. On Wednesday, we learned the truth.
This is
Despite
CNN.
Trudeau Liberals' claims of support for the Trans Mountain Pipeline, we learned they are in fact funding some of the protests against the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Take a look at this exchange in the House.
The Wapoos Farm provides, it's a charity in my riding that provides free vacations to poor families who would not otherwise afford one. But the Prime Minister cut their summer jobs this year because they refused to attest to supporting his ideology. Yet today he claims that an organization which seeks a summer student for the express purpose, and I quote, to stop the Kinder Morgan pipeline, gets the money under the Prime Minister's defense of free speech. Why does free speech only apply to those trying to kill Canadian jobs and not those trying to help the less fortunate?
I remind all honourable members, and I remind the Prime Minister to address the comments to the Chair. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Party of Canada is the party of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and we will always stand up to defend Canadians' charter rights. And organizations cannot ensure that they will abide by the principles in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and indeed will work to take away charter rights of Canadians, will not get funding from this government. I know the members opposite don't like that because it means standing up for women's rights and reproductive rights, but it also means we will be unequivocal in always standing up to defend the charter rights of all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, we just witnessed a Prime Minister accuse the Wapoos Farm of attacking the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is an organization that provides low-income families with a rare recreational opportunity, the chance to have a vacation that they would not otherwise afford. They do not impose any values of any kind on those families. They invite them and they give them an opportunity to recreate together and grow. Why is it the Prime Minister is prepared to support funding for jobs for organizations taking away opportunities from Canadians, but not those trying to help the less fortunate?
That's right. The Liberals will fund Trans Mountain protesters, but they won't give money to groups running soup kitchens because they do not share the same point of view as Trudeau on moral and ethical issues. It's more clear than ever that the Liberal Party under Trudeau has become a far-left parody of its former self. Sadly, one thing that didn't change in the time between Chrétien and Trudeau is the Liberal fondness for using and abusing the RCMP for political purposes. This week, the CBC reported that the RCMP knew that a convicted criminal was on Trudeau's guest list in India a day before they initially claimed to know. We asked about this scandal in question period for weeks, and even after all the media reports and 20 hours of filibuster, the Liberals still could not get their basic facts straight about who knew what when. This is a level of incompetence we have not seen in Canada in a long, long time. The Minister of Revenue